So there's this common phrase and pathology within Black culture about never letting anyone trick you out of your spot or making sure you don't let anybody trick you out of your spot. But I'm beginning to realize what we really need to be mindful of is about not getting tricked into a bad spot. You see, I have come to the conclusion that the real destiny swap is when someone finds himself in a bad position that they cannot get out of, and their only way out is having you take their spot. And the gag is, this form of life swapping, energy swapping, it occurs way more often than others realize. And I briefly touched on it in the last video I made about energetic transference, but this form of energetic replacement is something that occurs in all areas of life. All races actively participate in this, and you just have to be mindful enough to notice it, because I have stated before on here, energy never dies. It just gets transferred from one place to the next. And our world, our universal system, matrix, whatever, where we exist in, is very precise in that every energetic void that is created will be replaced with someone or something. The minute something or someone moves up and out of their designated spot, our world, or our matrix rather, works to have that spot filled, because that energy is still required to meet that universal need. So the same way an individual that has an addictive personality that gets hooked on drugs, alcohol, when they get clean, it still usually involves them redirecting or filling that addictive void with another vice, whether it be exercise, caffeine, energy drinks, sparkling drinks, teas, or other beverages that are reminiscent of alcohol and offering some kind of similar buzz. You know, it's why someone hops from relationship to relationship, forever seeking a partner to fill that romantic void in their life. It's because the universal system they're operating within has identified that area of life for them as something that they need to be focused on having satiated at all times. So I'm going to play a brief snippet from a video from a practitioner I've referenced in the past. She spoke at length on this concept from an esoteric perspective. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
What you need to know about the universe is that the universe is not like any imbalance within its systems. It is not like its order being challenged. Okay, so in the ecosystem, for instance, if the smallest population of insects were to decrease, the smallest insect population within the ecosystem, if that population were to decrease rather, okay, it would throw the ecosystem off. All right. And the ecosystem would then have the burden of fixing that defect. And so in order for the ecosystem to fix the defect within the insect population, it would then have to borrow from another system. That's a problem to have to do that, because when you borrow from another system to fix another system, it puts strain on that system. And then that system needs to borrow from another system. Let me explain it to you this way. When our bodies, when one of our systems start to break down, okay, and we get disease, right? We go to the doctor. The doctor prescribes us medicine, which is sorcery and pharmakia, okay? The doctor prescribes us medication. We take the medication, and all of a sudden we're noticing that we're getting side effects. But where are those side effects coming from? The side effects are mainly coming from the fact that the medication is trying to fix one system, but it's having to borrow from another system in the body to fix it. Now, at first, okay, the body is strong. It can take those hits, right? But over time, we know one of the greatest predictors in the progression of dis-ease is being on what? Medication, because it's borrowing from other system, putting strains on other system to try to fix the one system, right? So we try to find, we know that a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy life and a healthy spirit is a balanced life. It's a balanced body. It's a balanced mind. It's a balanced spirit. Okay. Now, I know it's hard to find balance. So the chaos that we are seeing in this world, in this universe, is nothing more than the systems being completely out of whack, and the universe trying to balance out these systems, and it's bringing out this chaos. That's what happens. You're trying to balance out these systems and you're having to borrow from other systems. That causes chaos, and the sheeple are the number one reason why the world is full of chaos, because they keep introducing these systems into the world that's not only affecting the man-made systems, but it's affecting the natural systems, right? We got, what do they call that? I want to call it the greenhouse effect, global warming, right? All that shit, right? It's being affected by the strain that the sheeple are putting on the natural systems. Okay. So here's the next part to this. So again, the universe does not like imbalance within its systems. Okay. So here we go. So here's the next thing that I want you to know, that within every system, there are two major components. Whether it be a natural system or a man-made system, there are two major components, okay? Number one, every system has an order. Every system has an order, okay? And is that, we have this order and we have these forces. Now, whenever we try to move ourselves out of the unfavorable positions that we find ourselves in along this order, okay? We say we want to change neighborhoods because we want our children to go to better schools. We want it to get into better relationships. We want to end the toxic relationships that we have. Maybe we want a new career. Maybe we want to start our own business. Maybe we want to lose weight, whatever the case may be, right? Have you ever experienced when you try to change something about your life, all hell breaks loose? All hell breaks loose. You've taken 3 steps forward and 10 steps backwards, right? Well, there's a reason for this. Those forces that are within that order that are naturally unopposing, right? When they're not challenged. When we try to move out of unfavorable positions, now I want you to get this, and I'm going to go more into this in my next video when I talk about trauma. When we are trying to move up the food chain a little bit, right? And we're trying to change our circumstances, these forces that's within these orders that are naturally unopposing, when we go try to move into a favorable position that would benefit us, okay? The universe takes that as a threat because you are challenging its order. You're trying to move up the food chain, which means that you're going to bump somebody out of their place, even though they're very deserving of it. You're going to try to change generations of bad luck, of being in unfavorable positions. Your family, your bloodline has been in a position of oppression for I don't know how many generations, okay? And you're going to try to change that, and the universe says, oh no, you're not.
So if you happen to find yourself in an unfavorable position or station in life, your only real alternatives at that point are to either completely remove yourself from said environment, whether that means leaving a relationship, leaving your family, going ghost from your family, cutting your family off, going no contact with your family, leaving your hometown, leaving your job, essentially allowing there to be an energetic void, allowing that to exist, stepping back, or finding someone else to replace you, right? This is something that happens a lot of times in the workplace. You will see someone that has taken on a role perhaps at the company and they are dissatisfied with it, or it's something that they don't necessarily want to do or don't feel comfortable doing, but because they're still an asset to the company overall, or they still like the company overall, then they plant a seed somewhere to have someone else be hired in order to take the place or take over the duties that they don't feel like performing, right? That's another form of energetic replacement that you yourself can conduct, where you have someone else swap with you. You find someone else to take on some burden that you yourself don't want to have to carry anymore. But regardless of how you decide to go about it, whether you use someone else to take your place or you leave altogether and allow someone else to naturally fill that void, either way, it will require you stepping back, pulling your energy back, and essentially allowing the universe to do its thing. And one of the most striking ways I've seen this presently play out is with this current movement that's occurred within the states following President Trump's election, where you have a collective of women, specifically within the Black community, that have gone on record to say that they did their job voting for Kamala, and anything that else that occurs after the fact, they're of no concern to them. And, we see the memes of, Black women arresting while the city is up in flames in the background. And it's a kind of sentiment that we're seeing play out in real time, where there's these protests being organized and there is a discernible absence of Black people, specifically Black women, who normally were at the forefront of a lot of these kinds of social justice warrioring efforts. We're now beginning to see that the face of what an SJW was previously is now changing. We're seeing that because that void has occurred where Black women are not showing up to the protests, they're not organizing these protests, they're not having a considerable influence over any of these movements anymore, they're not having that same amount of presence or involvement as they did prior. We're now seeing that others are being forced into that spot. They're essentially becoming the new martyrs, right? Or the new sacrifices. Whereas previously, the sacrificial energies were constantly something that Black women offered themselves up towards, to no benefit of them. But it was kind of a role that you always saw Black women actively stepping up to the plate of. Now that there has been a considerable absence of their collective energies from a lot of these movements, we're seeing that the face of it is changing. We're also seeing that the outright victims of some of these crimes against, or the violence against people that are resisting these movements like ICE or MAGA, we're beginning to see that also the racial makeup of these people is changing. With this recent shooting with the Renee Good woman, you now have a white woman martyr that is now being uplifted, and we're seeing a dynamic of police injustice or social injustice that has the face of the dominant society's woman. And it's an interesting dynamic that could only occur in an instance where one racial group that was used to being the face of sacrifice within social justice causes decided to take a step back and allow a void to exist, and allowed the universe to do its thing to fill it for them. And this is something that a lot of us need to be more aware of and put to use as it serves us, because ultimately our energy, your energy, is the most powerful form of currency that there is in existence. It is to all of our benefit that we use it wisely and remove it accordingly when whatever system that is currently in play is no longer benefiting us.